Raw is 25 this week. I don't know if you've seen us mention it, and the decision to split the regular broadcast with special segments being recorded at its spiritual home of the Manhattan Center shows just how far it's come. Just cast your mind back to that first night in January 1993. The look, the gimmicks, the production values, it's all a world away from the sports entertainment we know so well today. Look at this picture. Have you ever seen anything as regrettably and painfully 90s as that? No, you have not. The card on the night was a comical mix of wrestling's who's who and wrestling's who the is that. So you know what that means? Content. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and this is every single wrestler from Raw Episode 1, Where Are They Now? Number 15, Yokozuna. He's dead. It's a great start. With the then WWF in the midst of a steroid scandal in '93, Yoko's more natural look made him the perfect monster heel, and he was well on his way to both a Royal Rumble win and a run with the WWF title. Sadly, he was released in '97 and died some 3 years later in a Liverpool hotel room while working for All Star Wrestling. Reports at the time said it was a heart attack brought on by his size. He was pushing nearly 600 pounds at the time of his death, but it was later found to be fluid on his lungs. Regardless, 34 is no age whatsoever, and he is sadly missed. Number 14, Coco Beware. Yokozuna's squash victim that night was future Hall of Famer Coco Beware. Now, by '93, his stock had fallen considerably, and he was only 2 years away from leaving the company, but incredibly, he still wrestles today, occasionally popping up on indie shows even as recently as last year. He was also named as a defendant in WWE's ongoing concussion lawsuit, so it's nice to know he's keeping in touch. Number 13, the Steiner Brothers. According to Jules' ex-girlfriend, the Steiner Brothers' run in WWF was the second most disappointing thing she'd ever seen, but back in 1993, they were being pushed hard. Sadly, it fizzled out, and the duo left for WCW not long after, where, as we all know, Scott cultivated his Big Papa Pump personality and still wrestles today while looking like a cross between Colonel Sanders and a very angry Cloud. Rick's actually still going as well, but only part-time, as he found other callings in real estate and as a member of the Cherokee County School District Board, which is nice. Number 12, the Executioners. Their opponents that night were the Executioners. Now, Executioner number 2, Barry Hardy, was an enhancement talent who, to this day, can still be found working in various promotions in Florida, but his partner, the creatively titled Executioner number 1, was Dwayne Gill, aka Gilbert. I know, right? Now, Gilbert was doing his Goldberg shtick as recently as last year in that program with Kevin Owens, which I thought was quite good secretly, but he can more commonly be found at the Gilbert Pro Wrestling Academy, which I would very much like to go to one day, please. Number 11, Razor Ramon. Restricted to an in-ring promo on the night, Razor was only a few weeks away from a WWF title match against Bret Hart. 3 years later, of course, he'd left the promotion for WCW and the NWO, got a very quick return in with WWF, but then spent many years battling, let's just call them, personal demons. Thankfully though, Diamond Dallas Page exists, so Scott Hall is absolutely fine now, we're told, and he can occasionally be seen popping up causing trouble on indie shows and Instagram. Number 10, Shawn Michaels. I mean, you don't actually need me for this one, do you? HBK had world title success in his first run before establishing himself as one of the all-time greats in his second. He's now a born-again Christian because why not, and teaches the finishing classes at WWE's Performance Center. Along with Scott Hall, we're going to be seeing him on Raw 25. Number 9, Max Moon. What the actual is that? Despite losing Charles Conan Ashenoff, for whom this gimmick was written, creative decided to persist with it by slapping it on Paul Diamond to become this, I mean, I don't even know what that is. Like a spaceman? A pool noodle? A dildo? I mean, whatever. Diamond would go on to work for WCW and ECW under the ring name Hato before retiring altogether. He now works in a Parks and Rec department and apparently gets arrested loads because his car is in such bad condition, although it cannot possibly look anywhere near as bad as that. Number 8, Marty Jannetty. Very much the Wilborn to Shawn Michaels Cleary, Jannetty's very public run-in with the law cost him a money feud with his former tag partner, and by this point he was just floating about the mid-card. He would go on to pick up the Intercontinental title, which isn't to be sniffed at, but he'd be gone from the company altogether by 96. He's been back on WWE numerous times since, always to pad out feuds involving Shawn Michaels, but he's more commonly seen on Shikara! Where he and the 1-2-3 Kid challenged the Young Bucks for their tag team titles. Number 7, Mr. Perfect. Curt Hennig was, and I make no apologies for this, absolutely brilliant, and he recovered from a number of very serious injuries to have great runs in WCW, TNA, and of course his Royal Rumble return with the WWF. As well as that, he posted one of the all-time greatest King of the Ring matches and would surely have been one of the returning guests for Raw 25 was he not found dead in his hotel room in 2004 at the age of only 44. Another one who is sadly missed. Number 6, Jim Duggan. Bit of a weird one this, as Duggan was on this show to promote his Royal Rumble appearance and then never actually appeared in the match itself. In fact, he was gone from the company entirely later that year. WWE have used him a number of times since then, but only ever in weird comedy nostalgia spots. Now, last we heard officially, he was working for GFW in a Legends role, but I'm not making this up, he literally tweeted yesterday that he's at some sports centre in Gloucester this weekend, so yeah, go see that. Number 5, Kamala. Technicality this, as Kamala was only on a pre-recorded bit on Raw number 1, but we'll include it anyway. He went on to have a storied career after WWF. He worked for Ring of Honor, he wrestled Daniel Bryan, and he was even a guest at Jay Lethal and SoCal Val's TNA wedding. Sadly, he lost both of his legs to diabetes over the last 7 years and continues to have problems with his health. He was hospitalized in November and, as far as we can tell, remains in intensive care. So, get well soon, Kamala. Number 4, The Undertaker. Despite a very promising start in WWF, including feuds with Jimmy Snuka and Jake Roberts, The Undertaker was sentenced to life in prison in 2002 for the murder of Tough Enough winner Maven. Whilst this derailed what could potentially have been one of the greatest in-ring careers of all time, it did mercifully spare us from any Booger Red gimmicks or that whole Chris Canyon Boy George debacle or putting Roman over at WrestleMania last year. So sad. Number 3, Damian DeMento. There's a trivia question for you. Who was the other man in the main event of the first ever Monday Night Raw? 1 billion points for anyone who knows that's Damian DeMento. Even more points though if you can guess what he did after life in WWF. He did the whole indie thing first, but after that he had a cameo in Die Hard with a Vengeance and then literally went on to become an artist and sculptor. So that's main event Raw with The Undertaker, small part in a Bruce Willis film, literally sculpt something beautiful with your hands. I would take that tomorrow. Number 2, Doink the Clown, which my autocorrect has actually changed to Doing the Clown. Thinks I'm Noel Foley. Now, of course, we're talking here about the original Doink the Clown, Matt Osborn, not one of the many pale, get it, imitations WWE has presented us with over the years. His run with the company was blighted by personal problems and he was fired after Bam Bam Bigelow told on him for smoking weed. Obviously there's a joke in there about nobody liking a grass, but I'm not going to make it. Tragically, Osborn died from a painkiller overdose in 2013, but not before he returned in 2007 for the 50th anniversary Legends Battle Royal. Were he still with us? No doubt we'd be seeing him on Raw 25. Number 1, Crush. WWE really tried with Crush, making him part of Demolition and then repackaging him as Kona Crush, but it never quite worked out. He eventually left for WCW, formed the tag team Chronic, yes, remember them, and then even transitioned back to WWF when Vince bought them out. After that, he turned his hand to boxing, of all things, before being forced to retire from competition in general in 2003 when he injured his spine wrestling in Japan. After that, he was Randy Savage's personal bodyguard for a while, but was sadly found dead in 2007 after accidentally mixing 4 otherwise innocuous ingredients. It has not been a fun list, this one. So there you have it. That's every single wrestler who was on the first episode of Raw. And yes, a lot of them are dead, but we'll be seeing a lot of them on Raw 25. So what have we learned? Life is fleeting, I guess. So yes, give us your thoughts by leaving a comment below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And of course, please join us for the reaction to Raw 25 next week. Simon Miller will be there. You like him? Anyway, I've been Adam from WhatCulture.com, and bye for now.
Oh, wasn't that something? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe below, and also the people who made this lovely video, they're appearing right here. But if you're thinking to yourself, I want to see more content, Jules, then why not look above my head, as there probably is some. I don't know. I can't see it. Until next time.